Well, this one is going to be slightly more difficult to talk about because I have some things that just wouldn't fit the original purpose of this channel on my mind when talking about what I'm going to mention today. So I have to be a bit more careful than usual. And the big topic is gods and godlike beings within my fictional settings, both as side characters and as some concepts, some sort of enigmatic background that just hovers above the heads of the characters inside of the story. And in general, as of now, my stance on including these things within my stories is no, since the direction of their use I can mostly imagine is somewhat robbing the other characters of choices, and that does not make me feel positive emotions. The sole exception would be if it was a story of a mortal that has a goal to fell such a being, but that would ultimately cause such a being to cease existing as a god or such entity because having a weakness, some Achilles heel, would go against what in my mind is a god. Again, I'm strictly speaking of fictional settings. I am not in any way, shape, or form going into any definitions of religions or anything like that. Strictly fiction. My fiction. And since a god in such setting I feel should be unconquerable, unfathomable, and if it's not, it is just a stronger, more powerful, more magical, normal being still within that story that just went further down some path of progression, but ultimately having a weakness would cost it its status of a god. So overall, I'm not really interested in having them in my fictional settings. I don't want my other quote unquote lesser characters to rely on them or pray to them or be controlled by them. So the most I think they will ever get is a passing mention, maybe some sort of a belief in a concept without personality or personification of such. I am all for the indescribable and unknown enemies and allies, eldritch and inhuman, just not that idea of something further beyond, step above these, some kind of a all controlling force like fate or destiny that would be represented by a character that sort of exists outside of the constraints of the story. I definitely did not do a great job of properly explaining myself, expressing my feelings on this topic in actual sentences, so I will have to come back to this at some point, but at least I managed to put something out there, so I will be able to think on it, ponder on it some more before I do another full rotation of the different parts of storytelling as I perceive them. But for now, enough about godlike beings and back to the rapid arrows who are currently being invited by the Brotherhood for some tea and possible cooperation between these two clubs. And yet, something is in the air, maybe a possibility of some small betrayal, a tiny little trap waiting for our heroes in the lair of their former enemies, and we see them leaving their club room all dressed up in their usual get-ups, just with some overcoats on, with Mirek mentioning that he has this weird feeling about their incoming get together with the Brotherhood, when Redcap exclaims that he suddenly thought of something, a sinister idea that maybe the Brotherhood is going to use the tea to poison them, since they emphasize the tea part so much. Well, the rest agrees, so Mirek gives out orders to somehow stealthily dispose of the tea they will be served, and Yarka adds that afterwards they'll have to pretend that it worked. When they are almost at their destination, Bohoj the sentry perks up and runs back inside to warn the rest of the Brotherhood that the rapid arrows are approaching, shouting and screaming that arrows are incoming, and the Brotherhood prepares a grand welcome with fake white smiles plastered all over their faces, with Longpole sweetly saying that in celebration of their upcoming reconciliation, the Brotherhood prepared some tea, so the arrows received their cups, while Longpole rambles on how within the animosity they actually admired the rapid arrows very much, with Yindra being the first one to dump the dubious liquid, commenting how much it resembles swill. The rest neatly follows, with Speedy saying that not even a dog would drink this and would probably end up dead. The conversation in the background is still ongoing. Now Bristle's saying that since they are big friends now, maybe the clubs could merge. Bohosh says that afterwards the Brotherhood would be able to move to the Rapid Arrows club room instead of their old shack. Yarka is stalling for the rest of the club members to safely get rid of their dose of poison. And then Mirek commands for everyone to follow his lead from now onwards. A bit of fake yawning, praise for the tea, and pretend fainting right at the table to fool their wannabe captors. Even Bubbles, who's been with them this whole time, is now asleep, and the true celebration begins. Boho's chanting, "Stupid arrows, stupid arrows," while Longpole at least makes sure that they are truly asleep, calling to them, asking if they are indeed within the realm of dreams, and when all seems to have went exactly as planned, the Brotherhood prepares ropes to tie their guests up with, Mirek being the obvious first choice for them to secure because they perceive him as the biggest threat, rightfully so. And the last thing we see in this chapter is the three boys, Bristles, Bohosh, and Longfall, approaching the seemingly laying down completely out of it Mirek, all ready to bind their greatest enemy. And this is where I'm going to stop. I just talked a bit about certain characters that I am unable to portray in a way that I would find enjoyable and entertaining. Afterwards, just one single poor little chapter of the Rapid Arrows, and I'll have to do a bit more in the next video.